Every now and then, an old secret whispers louder than science. In the quiet towns of Japan, gardeners have passed down a humble tradition, a method so simple. It turns ordinary kitchen scraps into living, breathing soil in just 14 days. No smell, no waiting for months, no heavy turning. Just nature, working smarter. They call it Bokashi, a word that means fermented organic matter. What began as a forgotten practice has quietly reshaped gardens, revived tired soil, and reminded the world that sometimes the old ways still hold the greatest miracles. Long before the shelves were lined with glossy fertilizer bags and plastic tubs of compost, there was something simpler and perhaps wiser. In small Japanese villages, where every grain of rice was precious and nothing was wasted, the elders practiced a quiet art they called Bokashi. The word itself means fermented matter, but behind it lies a philosophy much deeper than soil. It began with a humble bucket, not a fancy composter, not a machine, just a pail where kitchen scraps, rice bran, and a sprinkle of microorganisms came together. They didn't see waste. They saw potential. Every peel, every leftover grain, was a gift returning to the earth. Through gentle fermentation, not rot, they created a soil amendment, so alive that even barren patches began to breathe again. This method wasn't born out of convenience. It was born from patience and respect, the kind that listens to the rhythm of nature instead of rushing it, the kind that sees value where others see garbage. In those days, elders didn't need YouTube tutorials or expensive equipment. They had wisdom passed down in calloused hands and quiet mornings spent tending the land. And somehow, in all our progress, we forgot. We traded time for speed, simplicity for technology. But the earth remembers. And so does Bokashi, a bridge between the old world and the new, between what we've gained and what we've lost. Imagine this, your kitchen scraps, instead of rotting in a bin, transforming within 2 weeks into something powerful, soil alive with microbes, rich in life. No odor, no turning, just nature, working silently the way it was always meant to. For many in Japan, Bokashi isn't just about gardening. It's a reflection of life itself, that even what we throw away can be redeemed, renewed, and reborn. It's the circle of giving back, a reminder that the smallest acts of care can restore what time has worn away. Maybe your parents or grandparents had their own ways of working with nature, saving eggshells for the garden, soaking rice water for the leaves, or whispering prayers before planting seeds. Their wisdom wasn't just practical, it was spiritual. It connected them to the soil and to something far greater than themselves. And maybe, just maybe, it's time we listened again. Do you remember an old gardening trick your parents or grandparents swore by? Maybe a secret tea for the leaves, or a strange mix that always worked wonders. Share it in the comments. Your story might be featured in our next video. Let's keep their wisdom alive, one garden at a time. How it works. Here's where the magic truly happens, and it's simpler than you might think. Unlike regular compost that depends on air, heat, and constant turning, Bokashi works in silence. Sealed away from the world, much like homemade pickles. Inside that airtight bucket, nature runs a different kind of show, one that's all about fermentation, not decay. When you drop in your kitchen scraps, fruit peels, vegetables, coffee grounds, even small bits of cooked food, you're not throwing them away. You're preparing them for transformation. Each layer gets sprinkled with what's called Bokashi bran, rice bran mixed with beneficial microbes, the invisible workers that power this ancient method. Once the lid closes, those tiny organisms get to work. They don't rot your scraps. They ferment them, breaking them down gently while preserving their nutrients. The smell? Not the sour odor of rot, but a mild, pickled scent. No flies, no mess, no turning piles in the yard. Just a quiet bucket, doing its work beneath the surface. After about 2 weeks, you'll notice something special. Your scraps have changed. They look softer, darker, slightly sweet-smelling. That's not waste anymore. That's living material, ready to boost your garden. You can bury it straight into the soil, where earthworms and microbes finish the job, or add it to a compost bin to speed things up dramatically. And here's the best part. Bokashi isn't just for people with big gardens. It's safe, clean, and perfect for small spaces, even an apartment balcony or kitchen corner. Because it's sealed, there's no odor, no pests, and no heavy lifting. All you need is a bucket, a scoop of bran, and a little patience. Think of it as the slow cooker of gardening. You set it up, seal it tight, and let nature handle the rest. It's soil making made simple. A perfect fit for anyone who wants to live sustainably without the fuss. Remember, though, Bokashi doesn't replace composting. It enhances it. It's the perfect first step that turns food waste into nutrient-rich material that finishes decomposing beautifully in your garden soil. That means faster compost, healthier plants, and less waste heading to landfills. So yes, you can do this too. You don't need a big backyard, fancy tools, or years of gardening experience. You just need curiosity and maybe an old bucket you've been meaning to use. Every peel, every leftover, becomes a small act of care for the earth, and before long, you'll start to notice it. Softer soil, happier plants, and that quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you're giving back to the planet one meal at a time. Have you ever tried fermenting food scraps before? Or do you have a favorite way to reduce kitchen waste? Tell us in the comments. Your tip might help someone start their own Bokashi journey. What you need. Here's the beauty of Bokashi, it doesn't demand much. You don't need a backyard, a big compost pile, or fancy equipment. You only need 3 simple things: an airtight bucket, some Bokashi bran, and your everyday kitchen scraps. That's it. No gadgets. No turning piles in the summer heat. Just a humble system that quietly transforms waste into life. Let's start with the bucket. Any container with a tight-fitting lid works, but the best ones have a small spigot at the bottom. That's because during fermentation, a nutrient-rich liquid forms, often called Bokashi tea. You can drain it every few days and dilute it with water to feed your plants. Think of it as liquid gold for your garden, a natural tonic full of beneficial microbes and trace nutrients. Next comes the Bokashi bran. It may look simple, but it's the real magic in this process. Made from rice bran, sometimes wheat bran, inoculated with friendly microorganisms, known as effective microbes, or EM. This mix is what turns scraps into living soil material instead of rot. Each handful you sprinkle introduces millions of tiny helpers that start the quiet work of fermentation. And then, of course, your food scraps. This is where your daily life connects directly to the earth. Fruit peels, vegetables, eggshells, coffee grounds, even bits of bread or small amounts of cooked food can go in. Every layer of scraps tells a story of meals shared, of nourishment, of gratitude. And now, those leftovers are about to return the favor by feeding your soil. To start, place a small layer of bran at the bottom of your bucket. Add your food scraps in thin layers, sprinkling a handful of bran over each one. Press it down gently to remove air, then seal the lid tightly. That's all. No turning, no waiting for months, no smell. Just a quiet bucket, doing its work while you live your life. Over the next 2 weeks, the microbes do the rest. They'll ferment everything, keeping nutrients locked in and creating a mixture that's ready to enrich your soil. When the bucket is full, bury the fermented scraps directly in your garden bed or planter. In just a couple of weeks, the soil absorbs it all, turning waste into strength for your plants. For those living in apartments or with limited mobility, Bokashi is a small act with big results. It's clean, odor-free, and easy to maintain, perfect for seniors, small households, or anyone who wants to garden without strain. You can keep it under your sink, in a corner, or even on a shaded balcony. And remember, every spoonful of bran and every sealed bucket isn't just reducing waste, it's restoring balance. You're joining a quiet tradition of gardeners around the world who are choosing patience over pollution and wisdom over waste. So before you buy that next bag of compost, look around your kitchen. Step by step, the gentle rhythm of waste to life. Now that you've gathered everything, let's walk through the gentle rhythm of Bokashi. The simple daily steps that turn kitchen waste into living soil. Start with your clean, airtight bucket. Sprinkle a thin layer of Bokashi bran at the bottom. This sets the stage for fermentation and welcomes the friendly microbes that will do the quiet work ahead. Next, add your day's kitchen scraps, fruit peels, vegetable trimmings, coffee grounds, even a few cooked leftovers. Avoid liquids, bones, or too much oil. Think of this as feeding the earth what she can easily digest. Then, sprinkle another handful of Bokashi bran over the scraps. This isn't just a coating, it's a promise. Each layer of bran adds billions of beneficial microorganisms that will soon begin breaking things down. Not with rot, but with life. Now, take something flat, a small plate, a press, or even your gloved hand, and gently press the layer down. This pushes out any trapped air. Remember, Bokashi loves to work without oxygen, so the tighter, the better. Once that's done, seal the lid tightly. Air is the enemy here. Each time you add new scraps, repeat the same process. Add, sprinkle, press, seal. It's like a little ritual, a rhythm of giving back to the soil, one meal at a time. When your bucket is full, set it aside in a cool, shaded spot and let it rest for about 10 to 14 days. During this time, the microbes get busy fermenting, gently transforming your food scraps into a soft, sweet-smelling mixture. You might see a white, thread-like mold appear. Don't worry, that's a sign of good fermentation, not spoilage. Every few days, if your bucket has a spigot, drain the liquid that collects at the bottom, often called Bokashi tea. It's a natural, nutrient-rich liquid you can dilute and use to water plants. Just 1 or 2 tablespoons per liter of water is enough. Your houseplants and garden will thank you. After 2 weeks, your Bokashi is ready. The scraps may look a little different, but that's the point. They're now pre-digested, ready to finish their journey. You can bury them directly into your garden bed or mix them into your compost pile. Within a few weeks, they'll completely merge with the soil, leaving behind rich, dark earth teeming with life. There's something deeply peaceful about this process. Watching waste become nourishment, time after time. It's a gentle cycle that asks for very little, but gives back so much. Each layer you add isn't just food waste. It's a quiet promise that nothing in nature is ever truly lost. Everything returns, everything renews. So take your time. Feel the rhythm. Add, sprinkle, press, and seal. Each action a whisper of hope. Each bucket a small act of restoration. And in a month's time, when you turn that rich soil with your hands, you'll know this is what renewal feels like. The science of soil health, why it works. Now that you've seen how simple Bokashi is, let's take a moment to understand why it works. Because what's happening inside that bucket is more than just fermentation. It's living science, unfolding in miniature. When you sprinkle Bokashi bran over your scraps, you're adding millions of beneficial microorganisms, mostly lactobacillus, yeasts, and phototrophic bacteria. These friendly microbes are nature's quiet engineers. They don't break things down through decay. They transform them through fermentation. During this process, the microbes create enzymes and organic acids that preserve nutrients, reduce odor, and prevent harmful bacteria from taking over. The result? Food waste that doesn't rot or attract flies, but instead turns into a pre-digested feast for your soil. When you finally mix your fermented Bokashi material into the ground, something extraordinary happens. Those same microbes come alive again, spreading through the soil like a hidden network of helpers. They break down the fermented matter even further, releasing nutrients in forms that plants can absorb more easily. And it doesn't stop there. The organic acids produced during fermentation help bind nutrients to soil particles, keeping them from washing away with rain. That means your plants get a steady, long-lasting supply of nutrition, not just a quick burst like chemical fertilizers. Over time, the soil becomes softer, richer, and teeming with microscopic life. Gardeners who use Bokashi often notice something remarkable. Their harvests grow fuller, their plants look healthier, and pests become less of a problem. That's because healthy soil naturally supports strong, resilient plants that can fend off disease and stress on their own. It's not magic. It's nature working the way it was designed to. Think of Bokashi as a partnership between you and the living world beneath your feet. You provide the scraps, the raw materials, and the microbes do the rest, turning waste into wealth for the earth. It's composting with an added layer of intelligence, one that honors the natural cycles without relying on chemicals or synthetic additives. And for those who already compost, here's the good news. Bokashi doesn't replace your compost pile, it supercharges it. By feeding your compost with pre-fermented material, you speed up the process dramatically, while improving the overall quality of the finished compost. So when you pour that Bokashi mix into your garden, you're not just feeding your plants. You're rebuilding the ecosystem underground, restoring balance, resilience, and vitality that chemical fertilizers can't provide. What you see on the surface, greener leaves, richer blooms, tastier vegetables, is just the visible reward. The real miracle happens unseen, deep in the soil, where billions of microbes are working together to turn your care into lasting fertility. Connecting two older values, nothing wasted. There was a time when every household understood one simple truth: nothing was ever truly wasted. We saved, mended, repurposed, and passed things on. Every jar had a second life. Every scrap had a purpose. It wasn't called sustainability back then. It was simply living with respect. For many of us, those lessons came from the generations before, parents and grandparents, who made the most of what they had. A patch of garden behind the house, an old tin used for storing seeds, or a compost heap quietly working in the corner. Life had rhythm then, not one of constant buying and throwing away, but of giving and receiving. Bokashi is more than a clever gardening trick. It's a gentle return to that way of life. It reminds us that what looks like waste can still hold value. That renewal begins right in our kitchens. And that care for the earth starts with the smallest daily actions. Each time you drop a peel or a leftover into your Bokashi bucket, you're doing more than feeding microbes. You're honoring a tradition. A tradition that says, nothing is useless. Everything belongs somewhere. And maybe that's what makes Bokashi so special for older generations. It's familiar. It echoes the values we were raised with: patience, gratitude, resourcefulness. The quiet satisfaction of fixing instead of discarding. The joy of watching something simple, something overlooked, turn into abundance again. In a world that moves too fast, Bokashi slows us down just enough to remember that life itself is cyclical, that every ending feeds a new beginning. The potato peel that once fed your family becomes the compost that feeds next season's harvest. There's dignity in that, a gentle wisdom that connects us to the land and to one another. When we bring back those values, we do more than grow gardens. We grow communities. We inspire the young to see worth where others see waste, to care for the soil instead of stripping it. Every act of reuse, every mindful choice, becomes a quiet form of teaching. So the next time you reach for your Bokashi bucket, think of it as more than a gardening tool. Think of it as a memory of your mother's careful hands, of your grandfather's worn shovel, of a world that knew how to live simply and thrive deeply. Because in the end, Bokashi isn't just about soil. It's about soul. It's about rediscovering the peace that comes from knowing we've given something back. Nothing wasted, nothing lost. Just the gentle, ongoing exchange between life and life again. What's something you've learned to reuse in your garden or home? Maybe an old tool, a household item, or a trick your parents taught you. Share your wisdom in the comments. Younger gardeners are reading, and your story might teach them something precious. The garden that feeds itself. Then, one morning, you notice it. The soil feels softer beneath your fingertips. The plants look brighter, fuller, as if something unseen has awakened beneath them. Within weeks of using Bokashi, the difference is undeniable. The roots grow deeper, the leaves stand taller, and the earth, it smells alive. That faint, sweet scent, the kind only healthy soil carries, tells you everything you need to know. The microbes are doing their quiet work, weaving life back into every inch of ground. What was once just dirt has become something living, rich, dark, and full of promise. You'll find your garden starts to care for itself in ways you didn't expect. The soil stays moist longer. Your plants need less fertilizer, and pests seem to visit less often. It's as if nature has remembered how to balance herself again. That's the magic, not of chemicals or quick fixes, but of restoring the living connection between waste, soil, and growth. And the best part? This cycle never ends. Each kitchen scrap you add, each bucket you ferment, continues the story. Over time, your garden becomes stronger, more self-sustaining. You start harvesting not just vegetables or flowers, but gratitude. Imagine walking outside and knowing that the health of your soil came from your own hands, your own meals, your own care. The lettuce on your plate, the tomato on your vine, all grown from what you once threw away. It's a quiet kind of miracle, one that reminds us that life's greatest rewards often come from the simplest acts of faith. You'll start to see it too. Earthworms returning in numbers, soil that crumbles softly in your palms, and crops that taste fuller, cleaner, more alive. These are signs that your garden is no longer just surviving. It's thriving. It's learning to feed itself. And in doing so, it's feeding you. And somewhere in that gentle rhythm of eating, giving back, and growing again, something in you changes too. You begin to see that nothing is ever wasted, that every act of care echoes back in abundance. So keep at it. Each bucket, each handful of Bokashi bran is a seed of renewal. Within a season or two, your garden will thank you in the only way it knows how, through life overflowing. Because this isn't just about better harvests. It's about rediscovering harmony between the earth beneath your feet, the food on your table, and the care in your heart. What changes have you noticed in your garden since you started composting or using natural soil methods? Share your success stories in the comments. Your garden's journey might inspire someone to begin theirs. In every handful of soil, there's history of meals shared, seasons passed, and wisdom quietly kept alive. Each crumb of earth beneath our feet has lived many lives as fallen leaves, kitchen scraps, and rainwater turn memory. Bokashi reminds us that nothing truly ends in nature. It only transforms. This isn't just about composting faster. It's about restoring a rhythm the world once lived by, where waste was rare, patience was plenty, and every act of care came back multiplied through the harvest. When you bury your Bokashi, you're not just feeding your plants. You're joining hands with generations who once understood that good soil means good life. Think about it. Your food scraps today could feed your tomatoes next month, and those tomatoes might feed a neighbor, a friend, or even a child learning to garden. It's a quiet chain of giving, stretching from your kitchen table to the roots of the earth. Some gardeners say the first time they open their Bokashi bucket, they smell something familiar, not rot, but renewal. That's the scent of life returning home. It's a moment of humble joy, realizing that even the smallest peel or leftover can hold purpose again. If this video inspired you, give it a like. It helps more gardeners discover the joy of Bokashi. Share it with someone who loves to grow, someone who still believes in old wisdom made new. And don't forget to subscribe to the Evergreen Seniors, where old wisdom grows new life. What gardening tradition from your parents or grandparents do you still keep alive today? Share it in the comments. Your memory might inspire someone's next harvest.